Captain Min stood before the massive window of the Galactic Council space station and stared at the stars. He had been staring for 20 minutes now, ever since the emergency meeting ended. His reflection in the glass showed a tired man with dark circles under his eyes. He looked older than his 38 years. Behind him, the door opened. He knew who it was before she spoke. "You're thinking too much again," Admiral Bora said. Her voice was firm but kind. She had been his commander for 12 years and knew him well. Min turned to face her. "They're going to kill us all, and we're sitting here arguing about politics." Bora walked to the window and stood beside him. She was a small woman, but her presence filled any room she entered. "Tell me what you really think about the signal." The signal? 3 days ago, deep space sensors detected something from the void sector. That region of space was supposed to be empty, dead. Nothing there but darkness and old stars, but the signal came anyway and it was strong. "The scientists say it's ancient technology," Min said. "The language patterns match the old ruins we found on dead worlds, but this signal is active, alive. And the part they don't want to say out loud." Min's jaw tightened. "The harvesters, the machines that ate whole civilizations 50,000 years ago. Everyone thinks they're extinct. Everyone wants to believe they're extinct." Boran nodded slowly. "The council spent 4 hours today debating whether to even use that word. They're terrified." "They should be." The Admiral moved closer to the window. Far below, the planet Prime rotated slowly, its blue oceans reflecting starlight. "The science team found something else. The signal contains defense protocols, instructions for fighting the harvesters, but the code is too complex. We need someone who understands ancient technology at a deep level." Min felt his stomach drop. He knew where this was going. No. There's only one being in the galaxy who studied the ancients obsessively, who collected their artifacts, who learned their language. "No," Min said again, louder this time. "General." The name hung in the air between them like poison. General, the monster, the war criminal, the reptilian alien who had ordered the genocide of 2 billion beings during the Outer Rim Wars. Men, women, children. Entire colonies turned to ash because wanted the ancient ruins buried beneath their cities. "He's locked in the deepest prison cell we have," Min said. "He'll die there, he should die there." "I agree," Bora said quietly. "But if the harvesters wake up, everyone dies. Not just 2 billion, trillions. Every living thing in the galaxy." Min closed his eyes. His head hurt. The council will never agree to release him. They already spent all day arguing about it. The votes aren't there. Too many species lost people to attacks. The political cost is too high. Then we find another way." Bora pulled a data pad from her uniform pocket and handed it to him. "These are your orders, unofficial orders. You're to go to the prison station and assess whether truly has the knowledge we need. Talk to him. Judge for yourself." Min took the pad but didn't look at it. "And if he does have the knowledge, then you make the choice the council can't make." The prison station was a dark place. It floated in empty space, far from any inhabited world. Security was absolute. Commander 1, the alien who ran the facility, met Min at the docking bay. "Captain," 1 clicked, his mandibles moving in what might have been a greeting. "I received notice of your visit. This is highly irregular." "These are irregular times," Min replied. They walked through corridors of black metal. The air was cold. Every door was locked behind them. Finally, they reached the deepest level. The maximum security wing held only 1 prisoner. General sat in his cell, reading from a holographic display. He was tall even sitting down. His scales were gray and his eyes were yellow and cold. When he saw Min, he smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "A human," said. His voice was like gravel scraping metal. "How delightful. They send a child to question me." Min stepped closer to the energy barrier that kept contained. "I'm here about the signal from the void sector." Smile widened. Ah, so it finally happened, they woke up. What do you know about the harvesters? Everything, said simply. He stood up, towering over Min even through the barrier. I spent 40 years studying them. I destroyed cities to reach their ruins. I killed billions to obtain their artifacts. And do you know what I learned? Min said nothing. They never died, continued. The harvesters never went extinct. They went to sleep, dormant, waiting, and now something has awakened them. Why would they wake up now? Laughed, it was a terrible sound. Because the galaxy is at peace, you fool. 10 years of peace treaties, no more wars, no more conflict. Population growing on every world. The harvesters don't like that. They come when civilizations get too comfortable, too numerous. They come to balance things. Min felt cold. You're lying. Am I? Check your precious signal again. The harvesters are machines, but they think. They calculate. They harvest biological matter and turn it into processing power. They're the galaxy's reset button. We need the defense protocols in the signal. Can you decode them? Moved closer to the barrier. His yellow eyes studied Min carefully. Yes, I can decode them. I can tell you how to fight the harvesters. I might even be able to help you survive. In exchange for what? Freedom. Never. Then trillions die, said with a shrug. I'm comfortable here, I have books, food, time, but out there, he pointed toward the ceiling, toward space. Out there the harvesters are coming. They're in the void sector now, but they're moving, they're building. In a month, maybe two, they'll reach inhabited space, and when they do, they'll consume everything. Min turned to leave. Human called after him. I know what you're thinking. You're thinking maybe you can torture the information out of me. Maybe you can force me to help. But the ancients were clever. Their knowledge requires willing cooperation. Forced information is false information. You need me alive, free, and willing, or you need to watch your galaxy burn. Min stopped at the door. He didn't turn around. I'll die before I free you. Then we'll all die together, said. But you'll die first. Humans always do, so brave, so stupid. Min left the prison and returned to his ship. For 2 days he studied the signal. The science team was right. The code was too complex. They needed an expert. They needed. On the 3rd day, he made his decision. He went to the prison station without authorization. He used his command codes to access the maximum security wing. Commander 1 tried to stop him, but Min pulled his weapon. I'm sorry, Min said. This is bigger than both of us. He opened cell. The war criminal stepped out into the corridor and breathed deeply. I knew you'd come back. Humans always make the hard choices. That's why your species is interesting. If you betray me, Min said, I'll kill you myself. Oh, I'm sure you'll try, replied. Alarms began to sound throughout the station. Min's communicator exploded with messages. Admiral Bora's face appeared on the screen, but he couldn't tell if she was angry or sad. Min, she said, what have you done? What had to be done, he replied. He shut off the communicator. There was no going back now. He was a fugitive, a traitor, the man who freed the galaxy's worst monster. But if was right, he might also be the only man who could save them all. The news spread across the galaxy in hours. Captain Min, decorated officer of the Terran diplomatic fleet, had released General from prison. The monster was free. Every news station showed the same images. Security footage of Min opening the cell, walking out, the two of them escaping in a stolen transport ship. Admiral Bora stood before the council and did what she had to do. Her face was hard as stone as she spoke. Captain Min has betrayed his oath and his uniform. He is now considered a fugitive and enemy of the Galactic Council. All forces are authorized to apprehend him by any means necessary. But when the broadcast ended and she returned to her private quarters, Bora sent an encrypted message to Min's ship. The message contained coordinates, supply caches, and one line of text: buy us time. Min read the message and allowed himself a small smile. Bora understood. She always did. She had to denounce him publicly, but privately she was helping him survive. It was all politics and theater, but it gave him the cover he needed to do what must be done. "Your admiral is smarter than most," said from the co-pilot seat. The reptilian alien looked uncomfortable in the small human ship. His large frame barely fit. "Don't talk about her," Min said coldly. They had been flying for 12 hours, heading toward the coordinates provided. The war criminal claimed there was an ancient archive on a dead world at the edge of Council space, a place called Ruins Gate. If the defense protocols existed, they would be there. The ship's door opened and Nye entered the cockpit. She was Min's second in command, and she had insisted on coming with him. Her face was troubled. "Captain," she said quietly, "the crew is asking questions. They want to know if we're really doing this, if we're really flying around with him." She gestured without looking at him. "Tell them yes," Min said, "and tell them they can leave at the next station. No one will blame them." "I might leave myself," Nye muttered, but she didn't move toward the door. Laughed his horrible laugh. "Such loyalty, such doubt. Humans are fascinating. You follow orders even when you hate them." "Be quiet," Nye snapped. "Make me little soldier." Min raised his hand. "Enough, both of you. We have 3 days until we reach Ruins Gate. Everyone will remain professional." But professional was hard. The crew of 12 humans all knew what had done. Some of them had family who died in his attacks. They ate in shifts to avoid seeing him. They locked their doors at night. The ship felt like a prison and was both the prisoner and the warden. On the second day, a new crew member joined them. Dr. Jin was an expert in dead civilizations. She was young, only 32, with sharp eyes and clever hands. Admiral Bora had sent her. "I volunteered," Jin said when she came aboard. She carried 3 cases of equipment. "If we're going to study ancient ruins, you need someone who knows what they're looking at." She saw and froze, her face went pale. "That's really him." "Yes," Min said. "My colleagues at the university will never believe this." Studied her with interest. "An academic, how wonderful. Tell me, doctor, what do you know about the harvesters?" Jin set down her equipment and straightened her back. When she spoke, her voice was steady. "I know they were a machine race. I know they consumed biological matter. I know they destroyed the ancient civilization 50,000 years ago. And I know most scholars think they were completely destroyed in return." "Most scholars are idiots," said. "I'm beginning to think they might be right about that," Jin replied. She turned to Min. "Show me the signal data, everything you have." For the next 20 hours, Jin and worked together in the ship's small laboratory. It was strange to watch. The young human scientist and the old reptilian war criminal bent over holographic displays, arguing about ancient symbols and quantum mathematics. Sometimes they agreed. Sometimes they shouted. But slowly, patterns emerged from the data. Min watched through the window. Nye joined him. "She's brilliant," Nye said. "She's finding things in the data that our best computers missed." "And Nye hesitated. "He's brilliant too. I hate to admit it, but he understands the ancients in a way no one else does." "That's what scares me," Min said. They reached Ruins Gate on the 3rd day. The planet was gray and lifeless. Its atmosphere was poison. Nothing had lived there for thousands of years, but on the surface, massive structures rose from the dust. Ancient buildings, still standing after all this time. The ship landed near the largest structure. It looked like a temple, all strange angles and impossible geometry. The doors were sealed with energy barriers that flickered and hummed. "This is it," said. "The Forbidden Archives. I tried to reach this place 3 times during the war, never made it, too well defended." "What's different now?" Min asked. Pointed at the doors. "The defenses are failing. The ancients built their technology to last forever, but nothing lasts forever. The barriers are weak. We can get through." Jin scanned the structure with her equipment. He's right. The power systems are failing. But Captain, if we go in there, we might trigger security systems, ancient weapons. We could die. We're dead anyway if we don't try, Min said. They suited up and left the ship. The surface of Ruin's Gate was cold and dark. The sky was black. No sun reached this far out. They used lights to see the path ahead. Led them to the doors. He placed his clawed hand on a panel and spoke in the ancient language. The words sounded harsh and wrong, but the doors responded. The energy barriers flickered and died. The massive doors ground open, revealing darkness beyond. "Stay close," Min ordered, "weapons ready." They entered the forbidden archives. Inside was a vast chamber filled with crystal pillars. Each pillar glowed with soft blue light. Information flowed through them like water, visible as streams of symbols and numbers. "It's beautiful," Jin whispered. "It's dangerous," corrected. "Don't touch anything." They walked deeper into the archives. The pillars grew taller and the lights grew brighter. At the center of the chamber was a raised platform. On the platform stood a single crystal, larger than the others. It pulsed with white light. "The central core," said. "All the knowledge of the ancients flows through this. Their history, their science, their weapons, everything." Jin approached the crystal carefully. She held up her scanner. "Captain, this is incredible. The data density here is beyond anything we've ever seen. This single crystal contains more information than every library in the Council combined." "Can we access it?" Min asked. Before Jin could answer, the crystal flared brightly. A voice spoke, ancient and cold, in a language that somehow everyone understood. "Welcome, seekers. I am the witness. I have waited 50,000 years for someone to return." "What are you?" Min asked. "I am memory, I am record, I am the last voice of the ancients. I watched them rise, I watched them fall, I watched the harvesters consume them, and now I watch you." Stepped forward. "We need the defense protocols. How do we fight the harvesters?" The witness was silent for a long moment. Then it spoke again. "You cannot fight them. The ancients tried. We had weapons that could shatter stars. Technology beyond your comprehension. We fought the harvesters for 1,000 years." And Jin asked. "And we lost, not because we were weak, but because the harvesters are not alive. They cannot be killed. They can only be delayed or satisfied." "What does that mean?" Min demanded. "The harvesters are a natural process, like gravity, like entropy. They appear when civilizations grow beyond sustainable limits. They harvest biological matter and convert it to computational substrate. They are the galaxy's balance, its reset mechanism." Nuss' voice came over the radio, tight with fear. "Captain, we have a problem. Council ships just entered orbit, a whole fleet, and they're launching fighters." Min swore. "How did they find us?" "They tracked our ship's signature," Nuss said. "And Captain, the lead ship is commanded by Captain the Enforcer." Min knew that name. Captain was an avian alien, famous for never losing a target. If he was here, the Council was serious. "We need to leave," Min said. "Now." But wasn't moving. He stared at the witness. "Tell us the truth, all of it. How did the ancients survive as long as they did?" The witness pulsed. "They sacrificed. When the harvesters came, the ancients gave them what they wanted. 90% of the population, billions of lives, offered willingly to satisfy the harvest. The survivors were allowed to live, for a time." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Jin's face was horrified. "That's genocide." "That's survival," said quietly. And for the first time his voice held something other than mockery. It held understanding, perhaps even satisfaction. Min understood then. This was what had been researching all along. This was why he killed billions. He was practicing, preparing, learning how to survive the harvesters by becoming like them. "You freed a monster to fight monsters," Na had said once. Now Min understood the full truth of those words. Above them, the Council fleet opened fire on the planet's surface. The ground shook as orbital strikes hit the planet's surface. Dust and rocks rained down from the ceiling of the ancient archive. The crystal pillars flickered and dimmed. "We need to go," Na shouted over the radio. "The whole structure is coming down." Min grabbed Jin's arm. "Doctor, can you download the witness?" "I can try," she said, pulling out a data core from her equipment. She connected it to the central crystal. "But this will take time we don't have." "Then work faster," said. He was strangely calm despite the destruction around them. "The Council won't stop shooting until we're buried." Another explosion rocked the chamber. One of the crystal pillars cracked and fell, shattering into 1,000 pieces. The witness's voice came again, urgent now. "Download complete. Warning, Harvester Vanguard detected. 15 systems have gone dark. First contact in 12 days. 12 days. The words hit Min like a physical blow. 12 days until the Harvesters reached inhabited space. Moving. Jin yanked the data core free and ran toward the exit. They sprinted through the collapsing archive. Behind them, the ancient structure groaned and buckled. Crystal shattered. Stone fell. The lights went out one by one, leaving only their suit lamps to guide them. They reached the ship just as the temple collapsed behind them. Dust and debris engulfed everything. Na had the engines already hot. "Get in," she screamed. They scrambled aboard. Min hadn't even reached his seat when Na launched the ship straight up. G-forces pressed them into their chairs. Through the window, Min could see Council fighters swarming toward them. "Incoming fire," Na called out. She rolled the ship hard left. Plasma bolts streaked past them, so close that Min could see their blue glow through the hull. "I'm opening a jump window," Na said. Her hands flew across the controls. "Hold on." The ship lurched into faster-than-light travel. The stars stretched into lines. Ruin's gate disappeared behind them. For a moment there was silence. Then Jin started laughing. It was a slightly hysterical sound. "We made it," she said. "I can't believe we made it." "Don't celebrate yet," Na said. She pointed at a display. "That lead Council ship jumped after us. They're tracking us somehow." Studied the sensor readings. "Smart. They're using quantum markers, invisible to most scanners, but I know how to see them." He tapped a few commands into the console. "There. They tagged your ship back at the prison station. We've been broadcasting our location this whole time." "Can you remove it?" Min asked. "No, but I can redirect it. Make it look like we're going somewhere else while we go somewhere different." Claws moved across the controls. "There. Done. They'll think we're heading to the core worlds. We'll actually head to the outer rim." "Where on the outer rim?" Min asked. His eyes glinted. "A place called Memorial Station. It's where the Council keeps records of war crimes. Specifically, my war crimes. Every colony I destroyed, every artifact I stole, every person I killed. It's all documented there, including the locations of more ancient sites." "Why would we go there?" "Because the witness gave us knowledge but not the solution. We know the Harvesters are coming. We know sacrifice satisfies them, but we don't know how to stop them permanently. The answer might be in the sites I discovered, the ones I never got to explore." Jin held up the data core. "The witness mentioned something else, a shutdown command, but it said the ancients never used it." "Why not?" Min asked. "Because it requires a biological consciousness to interface directly with the Harvester network, and the interface is fatal. Whoever stops the Harvesters dies." The words settled over them like a heavy blanket. No one spoke for a long time. Finally broke the silence. "Then we find another way, or we find someone expendable." "We're not sacrificing anyone," Min said firmly. "Then you're a fool," replied. "One life to save trillions, that's the best trade in history." "He's right," Na said quietly. Everyone turned to look at her. She met their gazes without flinching. "I don't like it, I hate it, but he's right. If someone has to die to stop the Harvesters, that's a price worth paying." Easy to say when you're not the one dying, Jin said. I'll volunteer if it comes to that, Na said. Her voice was steady. I'm serious. If my death saves the galaxy, that's a good death. Min felt something break inside him. These were good people, brave people, and this situation was turning them into philosophers of death. They reached Memorial Station 3 days later. It was a massive structure, half museum and half library. Millions of beings came here each year to remember the wars and honor the dead. Seeing walk through its doors felt like a desecration. The station's security tried to stop them, but Min used his command codes. They still worked, barely. He had perhaps hours before the council locked him out completely. This way, said. He moved through the station like he'd been there before. Perhaps he had in chains during his trial. They reached the central archive. Row after row of data storage, each containing the records of the Outer Rim Wars. Went straight to a terminal and began searching. Here, he said, Colony World 17. I destroyed it to reach ancient ruins beneath the capital city, but I only explored 10% of the site before council forces arrived. The ruins extended deep underground, miles deep. He pulled up images, massive underground chambers, strange machines, and symbols that matched the ones from the Forbidden Archives. Jin studied the images carefully. These symbols, they're different from what we saw before, more complex. This might be a military facility, ancient weapons. Or an ancient defense network, said. Something that could fight the harvesters. Before they could investigate further, alarms blared throughout the station. Red lights flashed. A voice came over the speakers. Security breach. All personnel evacuate immediately. They found us, Na said. Not just them, Min said, checking his communicator. His face went pale. It's worse. On the screen was a live feed from the station's external cameras. A council fleet had just arrived. But this wasn't just any fleet. This was an execution force. Dozens of warships surrounded the station, weapons charged and ready. And on the command ship was a face Min recognized. Elder Ho Sung, a member of the Galactic Council, a survivor of genocide. He's here for revenge, said simply. I destroyed his colony, killed his family. He's waited years for this moment. The station's communication system activated. Elder Ho Sung's face appeared on every screen. He was an old human, his face lined with age and grief. When he spoke, his voice shook with barely controlled rage. Captain Min, I'm giving you one chance. Surrender General to us immediately, and you and your crew will be allowed to live. Refuse, and we will destroy the entire station with everyone inside. Min activated his communicator. Elder Ho Sung, I know what did to you, I know your pain, but we need him. The harvesters are coming. I don't care about the harvesters, Ho Sung said. I watched my wife and children burn. I watched my entire world die because of that monster, and now you've set him free. Justice demands his death. Justice won't matter if everyone's dead, Min argued. Then we all die, Ho Sung said. But that creature dies first. You have 10 minutes to comply. After that, we open fire. The transmission ended. Turned to Min. Well, human, what now? Will you hand me over to save yourself? I wouldn't blame you. I am, after all, a monster. Min looked at his crew. Na was checking her weapon. Jin was backing up all their data. They were preparing for a fight they couldn't win. There has to be another way, Min said. There isn't, said. You have 3 choices. Give me to them and live as a coward, fight them and die as a hero, or listen to what I have to say. I'm listening. Pulled up the data on Colony 17 again. The ruins there aren't just weapons. They're a beacon, a way to communicate with the harvesters. I realized this too late after I'd already destroyed everything. But the symbols, they're not instructions for fighting. They're instructions for talking. Jin moved closer. You mean we can negotiate with them? Perhaps the ancients did. They bought time. We could do the same. By offering sacrifice, Min said bitterly. By offering anything they'll accept, corrected. Maybe there's something they want more than biological matter. Maybe there's a way to redirect them, but we'll never know if we die here. 8 minutes left. Min made a decision. He activated the station-wide communication system. Elder Ho-sung, I'm coming out. Alone, let me explain everything, face to face. Give me that much. There was a long pause, then Ho-sung responded. Very well, you have safe passage, but only you. Min turned to his crew. If I'm not back in 30 minutes, jump to Colony 17. Find those ruins, finish this. Captain Na started. That's in order. He left the archive and walked through the empty station. Every civilian had evacuated. His footsteps echoed in the silence. He reached the docking bay where Ho-sung's shuttle had landed. The elder was waiting for him. He was a small man now, bent with age, but his eyes burned with the intensity of the young soldier he had once been. You freed him, Ho-sung said. After everything he did, after everyone he killed, you freed him. I did, Min admitted. And I'd do it again, because he's right about the harvesters. They're coming, and we need every advantage we can get. Even if that advantage is evil. Even then. Ho-sung was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, my daughter was 7 years old. She loved to draw pictures of flowers and stars. I kept one of her drawings, the only thing that survived. He pulled out a small, laminated picture, a child's drawing of a yellow sun and red flowers. She drew this the morning before forces arrived. She was coloring it when the bombs fell. I found it in the ruins, clutched in her hand. Min felt tears in his eyes. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't bring her back. Sorry doesn't undo what he did, but neither does revenge. Ho-sung looked at the drawing. You think you're making an impossible choice. You think you're the only one who has to decide between justice and survival, but I've lived with that choice for 20 years, and I'm tired. What are you saying? I'm saying, show me proof. Show me the harvesters are real. Show me this isn't just a trick to save life. Give me that and I'll consider letting you go. Min pulled out a communicator and brought up the witnesses' data, the images of dark systems, the sensor readings, the timeline showing 12 days until first contact. Ho-sung studied it all. His face grew pale. 15 systems, he whispered. Already gone, and you're certain can help. I'm not certain of anything, but I'm out of options. Ho-sung closed his eyes. When he opened them again, they were wet. Go, take your monster and your crew, but know this, Captain. When this is over, if we survive, returns to his cell. And if he betrays you, I will personally see him executed. These are my terms. Accepted, Min said. They returned to the ship together, the Council fleet, and as they jumped away toward Colony 17, Min wondered if he just made the right choice or the worst mistake of his life. In the distance, hidden in deep space, the harvesters continued their advance. 20 systems had now gone dark. Colony 17 was a graveyard. The planet's surface was with massive craters where cities once stood. Twisted metal jutted from the ground like broken bones. Nothing grew here. Nothing lived here. It had been dead for 20 years, ever since forces had bombed it into oblivion. I did good work here, said as they descended toward the surface. His tone was almost nostalgic. Efficient, clean, all targets eliminated within 6 hours. Nu's hand moved toward her weapon. Min shook his head slightly. Not yet, they still needed. Jin stared at the ruins below with horror. 2 million people lived here once. 2 million obstacles, corrected. Between me and the ancient ruins I needed to access. How do you sleep at night? Jin asked. Quite well, actually. I have a clear conscience. I did what was necessary for my research. Min forced himself to focus on the mission. Personal feelings didn't matter. Not when the harvesters had now consumed 50 systems. The death toll was already in the hundreds of billions. Every hour they delayed, millions more died. The ship landed near the largest crater. According to records, the ancient ruins extended directly below this point. They suited up and descended into the crater using rappelling lines. The walls were smooth glass, melted by the heat of weapons. At the bottom of the crater was an opening, a doorway leading underground. Ancient symbols marked the entrance, glowing faintly in the darkness. "This is it," said. "I only explored the first level before the Council forces arrived, but the scans showed the facility extending at least 5 miles down." They activated their lights and entered. The passage was wide and tall, built for beings larger than humans or reptilians. The walls were covered in the same strange symbols they'd seen at the Forbidden Archives. Jin ran her scanner over the walls. "These symbols are definitely a language, and I'm starting to understand the grammar. It's mathematical. Everything is ratios and equations." The ancients thought in numbers, said. To them, the universe was a calculation waiting to be solved. They descended for hours. The passage spiraled downward in a perfect helix. Every 100 meters, they passed chambers branching off from the main corridor. Each chamber held machines, dormant but intact, strange devices with no obvious purpose. "What are these?" Na asked, examining one of the machines. It was shaped like a sphere, suspended in midair by some invisible force. "I don't know," admitted. "I never got this deep before, but they're active, waiting for something or someone." Jin approached the sphere carefully. She waved her scanner over it. "Captain, this is incredible. This machine is bending space-time. It's creating a localized gravity well, but the power consumption is negligible. This violates every law of physics we know." "The ancients didn't obey our laws," said. "They made their own." They continued deeper. The temperature dropped. Their breath formed clouds in the cold air. The symbols on the walls became more complex, covering every surface. Jin tried to translate them as they walked. "These are warnings," she said. "They say, beyond this point lies the interface. Only the worthy may proceed. The unworthy will be consumed." "Cheerful," Na muttered. They reached the bottom of the spiral 3 hours later. Before them was a massive door, sealed with energy barriers similar to those at the Forbidden Archives. But these barriers were different. They pulsed with red light instead of blue. "This is wrong," said, and for the first time he sounded uncertain. "Energy barriers should be blue or white. Red means danger. Red means active defenses." "Can we get through?" Min asked. "I think so, but we need to be careful." Approached the door and began speaking in the ancient language. The words were different this time, more complex. A ritual, perhaps, or a password. The energy barriers flickered. The red light dimmed. The massive door began to open. Beyond was a chamber unlike anything they'd seen before. It was spherical, easily 100 meters in diameter. The walls, floor, and ceiling were covered in crystalline nodes, thousands of them, all glowing with soft white light. And in the center of the chamber, suspended in the air, was a figure. It looked human, almost, but its skin was translucent and light flowed through its veins instead of blood. Its eyes were open but empty. It hung in the air as if frozen in time. "What is that?" Na whispered. Jin's scanner was going wild. "It's biological but also technological. It's a hybrid, part organic, part machine, and it's still alive. Barely." The witness's voice suddenly emerged from Jin's data core. "You have found the interface, the bridge between biological consciousness and the harvester network. This is what I spoke of. This is the only way to communicate with the harvesters." "Is that an ancient?" Min asked. "It was," the witness said. 50,000 years ago, this being volunteered to interface with the harvesters. They hoped to negotiate, to find common ground. But the interface was incomplete. They learned how to communicate but not how to disconnect. This being has been trapped here ever since, caught between life and death, forever connected to the harvester network." The horror of it settled over them. 50,000 years, trapped, aware, unable to die. "Can we use this?" asked, always practical, always focused on the goal. "Yes," the witness said, "but whoever interfaces will face the same fate. Connection is permanent. The biological consciousness merges with the machine consciousness. There is no return." "But they could stop the harvesters," Min asked. "Perhaps, if they are strong enough. If their will can overcome the harvester collective. But the odds are not favorable. The harvesters are millions of individual machines, all networked together. One biological mind against millions of artificial ones. Step toward the interface, then I'll do it." Everyone stared at him. "I'm serious," said. "Let me interface. Let me try to control the harvesters." "Why would you do that?" Nut demanded. "What's your angle?" Smiled his terrible smile. "Because if I succeed, I'll control the most powerful force in the galaxy. The harvesters will be mine to command. I could reshape civilizations, punish enemies, reward allies. I'd be a god." "And if you fail?" Min asked. "Then I die, but I was going to die anyway. You all made sure of that. The moment you freed me, my fate was sealed. The Council will never let me live, so I might as well die trying to achieve something magnificent." Min felt sick, was right. He had freed a monster, and now that monster saw an opportunity for ultimate power. "We can't let him do it," Na said. "She's right," Jin agreed. "If controls the harvesters, he'll be worse than the harvesters themselves." But was already moving toward the interface. His hand reached out to touch one of the crystalline nodes. Min pulled his weapon. "Stop." Paused. He looked back at Min. "You going to shoot me, human? After all we've been through? After I helped you get this far?" "If I have to." "Then you'll never stop the harvesters. I'm the only one who understands the ancient technology well enough to interface successfully. Anyone else will just become trapped like that unfortunate being." He gestured at the floating figure. "Aware but powerless. Forever." "He's lying," Na said. "He has to be." But Jin was studying her scanner again. Her face was troubled. Actually, he might be right. The interface requires deep knowledge of ancient systems, understanding their mathematics, their quantum architecture, has studied this for decades. The rest of us are amateurs by comparison. "So we're trapped," Min said bitterly. "We can let control the harvesters, or we can let the harvesters kill everyone." "Or," Jin said slowly, "we find a third option." "There is no third option," said. "The witness told you. The interface requires biological consciousness, and I'm the only one qualified." "What about a human?" Jin asked. Everyone turned to look at her. "Think about it," she continued. "Humans are different from other species. Our brains are more adaptable, more flexible. We can learn new patterns faster than most aliens. That's why we've integrated so well into the galactic community. That's why we're good at diplomacy and translation. Our neuroplasticity is exceptional." "What are you suggesting?" Min asked. "I'm suggesting that a human might have a better chance of surviving the interface than any other species. The ancients were a collective, remember, multiple species working together, and according to the archaeological evidence, some of them had neural structures similar to humans." Laughed. "You're talking about becoming the interface yourself. How noble, how stupid. You have no training, no knowledge. You'd be consumed in seconds." "Maybe," Jin said, "but maybe not. I've spent my whole career studying ancient civilizations. I understand their thought patterns, their logic, and I have something doesn't have." "What's that?" asked mockingly. "Empathy. The ancients weren't monsters. They built beautiful things. They created art and music. They valued life. If I interface with the harvesters, maybe I can remind them of that. Maybe I can appeal to whatever remains of the ancient programming buried in their code." "The harvesters aren't alive," said. "They're machines, they don't have feelings." "But they were created by beings who did," Jin argued. Somewhere in their programming there must be echoes of their creators, values, priorities, purposes beyond simple consumption. Min looked at Jin. She was young, brilliant. She had her whole life ahead of her, and she was volunteering to throw it all away. "I can't let you do this," he said. "It's not your choice, Captain, it's mine." Before anyone could stop her, Jin moved toward the interface, but was faster. He grabbed her arm and pulled her back. "No," he said, "I don't think so." For a moment, Min thought was going to hurt Jin, but then the war criminal did something unexpected. He pushed her toward Min and stepped back. "I've changed my mind," said. "Let the human try. This will be an interesting experiment." "You're letting her go?" Na asked, suspicious. "Of course, because if she succeeds, we all survive, and if she fails, we all die together. Either way, I'll get to see what happens, and I've always been curious about human neural adaptation under extreme stress." "You're insane," Na said. "Probably, but I'm also right," gestured at the interface. "Go ahead, Doctor, show us what humans are capable of." Jin looked at Min. "Captain, permission to proceed." Min wanted to say no. He wanted to order her back to the ship. He wanted to find any other solution, but there was no time. The harvesters had consumed 200 systems now. They were accelerating, growing stronger. In days, maybe hours, they would reach the core worlds where trillions lived. "Permission granted," he said quietly. Jin nodded. She walked to the interface and placed her hand on one of the crystalline nodes. The chamber exploded with light. Jin screamed. Her body convulsed. The crystalline nodes all flared at once, creating a web of light that enveloped her completely. Min ran forward but couldn't reach her. The light formed a barrier, pushing him back. Through the brightness, he could see Jin's face, contorted in agony. Then suddenly everything went dark. The light vanished. The chamber was silent. Jin collapsed to the floor. Na rushed to her side. "She's breathing, barely, but she's alive." "Did it work?" Min asked. "Is she connected?" Jin's eyes opened, but they weren't her eyes anymore. They glowed with the same white light as the crystalline nodes. When she spoke, her voice was layered, as if 1,000 voices spoke at once. Connection established. Human consciousness integrated into harvester network. Assessment in progress. "Jin," Min said, "can you hear me?" "I am Jin, and I am more. I see everything, all the harvesters, all their targets, all the calculations." Her glowing eyes focused on Min. "Captain, it's worse than we thought. The harvesters aren't just machines. They're solving something, computing an answer to a question the ancients asked 50,000 years ago." "What question?" Min asked. "How to prevent the heat death of the universe. The harvesters are trying to save reality itself, and to do that, they need to consume everything." The words hung in the air like a death sentence. The harvesters were trying to save the universe by destroying it. The logic was insane, impossible, but also mathematically perfect. Min could see it in Jin's glowing eyes. She understood something the rest of them couldn't grasp. "Explain," Min demanded, "in a way we can understand." Jin stood up slowly. Her movements were different now, more precise, almost mechanical. When she spoke, her voice was still layered with that strange echo. "The ancients discovered a problem. In trillions of years, the universe will die. All energy will spread out evenly. No stars, no heat, no life, just cold, empty nothing. They called it entropy, the final death of everything." "We know about entropy," said. "It's basic physics." "But the ancients tried to solve it," Jin continued. "They built the harvesters as a universal computer, a machine spread across galaxies using biological matter as processing substrate. Every creature the harvesters consume becomes part of the calculation. Their consciousness, their memories, their unique perspective on reality, all converted into computational power." Nuss' face was pale. "You're saying everyone who died, they're still conscious, inside the harvesters?" "In a way, their patterns continue. Their information persists. The The harvesters are trying to solve the entropy problem by gathering every possible perspective, every unique thought, every variation of consciousness. They believe that with enough data, they can find an answer. That's genocide, Min said. They're killing trillions for a theory. No, Jin said. They're gathering trillions for a certainty. I can see their calculations. I can follow their logic. And mathematically, they're correct. If they consume every biological being in the universe and convert their consciousness into computational substrate, they will have enough processing power to solve the entropy equation. And then what? Asked. He sounded genuinely curious. After they solve it, they'll restart the universe, reset everything, create a new reality that doesn't die, a perfect, eternal cosmos. At the cost of this one, Min said bitterly. Yes. The chamber was silent. Everyone was processing this impossible information. Finally, Na spoke. Can you stop them? Can you shut them down? Jin's glowing eyes closed. For a long moment she was still. When she opened her eyes again, there were tears running down her cheeks. Human tears, mixing with the inhuman light. I'm fighting them, she said. Right now, my consciousness against theirs. But they're so strong. Millions of individual machines all thinking as one. I'm trying to inject new parameters. Trying to make them understand that consciousness has value beyond computation. That life is worth preserving for its own sake, not just as data. Are you winning? Min asked. I don't know, it's like arguing with mathematics. How do you convince an equation that it's wrong? They have logic, they have proof, they have calculations that span thousands of years. But they don't have humanity, Min said. They don't understand what makes life worth living. Show them that. Jin nodded. She closed her eyes again. The crystalline nodes around the chamber began to pulse with light, faster and faster. Min could feel something in the air, a pressure, a tension, as if reality itself was straining. Watched it all with fascination. Remarkable. The human mind is actually holding its own against a galaxy-spanning network. I wouldn't have believed it possible. Shut up, Na told him. Minutes passed, then hours. Jin stood motionless, eyes closed, tears still flowing. The light from the nodes grew brighter and brighter until it was almost painful to look at. Then suddenly Jin gasped. Her eyes opened wide. I did it. I changed their parameters, but not by stopping them. I couldn't stop them. They're too committed to their mission, too certain of their mathematics. Then what did you do? Min asked. I gave them a new option, a third path. Instead of consuming all life to solve the entropy equation, I convinced them to test civilizations first, to give each species a chance to prove they can contribute to the solution without being consumed. A test, said. What kind of test? A challenge system. The harvesters will approach civilizations and present them with problems, moral dilemmas, scientific puzzles, situations that require cooperation, wisdom, and sacrifice. If a civilization passes the tests, the harvesters will grant them time, space to grow, protection from the harvest. But if they fail, they get consumed, not finished. Yes, but it's better than certain death. It gives us a chance. It gives everyone a chance. Min felt a weight lift from his chest. So they're withdrawing from the core worlds. They're pulling back now, returning to the void sector. They'll establish the new protocols and begin testing civilizations systematically, starting with the least advanced and moving toward the most complex. Humanity won't face the test for years, maybe decades. But we'll face it eventually, Min said. Everyone will, but you bought time, we bought time. Jin stumbled. Na caught her before she fell. The glow was fading from her eyes now, replaced by normal human color. But something was still different, something permanent. Are you all right? Na asked. I'm changed, Jin said. Part of me is still connected to the harvester network. I can hear them, feel them. I'll always be connected now, for as long as I live. Can you disconnect? Min asked. No, this is permanent. I'm the bridge between humanity and the harvesters, the translator, the mediator. I'll feel every test they administer, every civilization that passes or fails. I'll carry that weight forever. Then you did what the ancient couldn't do, said quietly. You survived the interface. Your human adaptability actually worked. Fascinating. They returned to the surface slowly, supporting Jin between them. She was weak but alive, changed but whole. When they reached the ship, a surprise was waiting. Elder Hosung's fleet had arrived, but they weren't in attack formation. Instead, they were broadcasting on open channels, asking for updates, asking if the mission had succeeded. Min opened a communication line. Hosung's face appeared on the screen. The old man looked tired but hopeful. Captain, we detected massive energy readings from your location. The harvester fleets have stopped advancing. Systems are reporting the machines are withdrawing. What happened down there? We found a solution, Min said. Not perfect, but a chance. And? Min looked at the war criminal, stared back, his yellow eyes unreadable. He helped us. Without him, we never would have found the interface, never would have stopped the harvesters. I see, Hosung said slowly. Then I suppose I must honor my agreement. He lives, for now. But Captain, when this is over, he returns to prison. No negotiations, no exceptions. Understood, Min said. The transmission ended. Na secured in the holding cell. The war criminal went without resistance, still smiling his terrible smile. You freed a monster and became something else entirely, said as the cell door closed. Was it worth it, Captain? Min didn't answer. He didn't know the answer yet. They jumped back to Council space. The news of the harvester withdrawal spread instantly. Panic turned to cautious relief. Governments prepared for the coming tests. Scientists began developing strategies. Philosophers debated what wisdom meant to a machine intelligence. Admiral Bora met them at the station. She embraced Min tightly. You did well, she said. You saved us all. I made impossible choices, Min replied, and I'll spend the rest of my life wondering if they were right. That's what leaders do, Bora said. We make the hard choices so others don't have to. The council held a hearing. Min was officially pardoned for freeing. His actions were deemed necessary given the circumstances. He was even offered a promotion, a new position created specifically for him. Warden of the Galactic Threshold, a fancy title for a terrible job. He would monitor for future harvester-level threats, work with Jin to understand the tests, prepare civilizations for their eventual challenges. He accepted. What else could he do? Jin was given a similar role, guardian of the interface. She would be humanity's representative to the Harvester Network, the translator between biological life and machine intelligence. She handled it with quiet grace, though Min saw the pain in her eyes, the weight of connection, the burden of eternal awareness. Na took command of Min's old ship. She deserved it. She had stayed loyal even when logic said to run, even when justice said to rebel. She was a good soldier and would be a great captain. Remained in prison, but now his cell was different. He was given access to ancient texts, allowed to teach to students who could stomach learning from a monster. He seemed content, perhaps even happy. He had achieved what he always wanted. He had solved the mystery of the ancients, even if it cost him everything. 6 months later, the first test occurred. A primitive species on the edge of Council space faced the harvesters. They were given a challenge. Could they work together to solve a resource crisis without war? They passed. Barely, but they passed. The galaxy celebrated. It was possible. Survival was possible. But 63 species failed in the first year. Failed and were consumed, their consciousness absorbed into the Harvester Network. Jin felt every failure, every death, every lost civilization. She aged years and months. Min visited her often. They would sit together in silence, watching the stars, both carrying burdens too heavy to share with anyone else. "Do you regret it?" she asked him once, freeing starting this. "Every day," Min admitted. "But I'd do it again, because the alternative was worse." "The weight of billions," Jin said quietly. "That's what we carry now. Every decision, every consequence, every life saved and every life lost." "Ask me in 1,000 years if it was worth it," Min said. It was something had once said. The words of a monster, but also, perhaps, the words of someone who understood the cost of survival. They sat in silence, watching humanity prepare for its eventual test, watching civilizations rise and fall, watching the harvesters continue their endless calculation in the void between stars. Years passed. Min grew older. His hair turned gray. His hands developed tremors. But he remained at his post, forever vigilant, forever burdened with the knowledge of what he had unleashed and what he had prevented. Sometimes, late at night, he could hear whispers, echoes from the Harvester network bleeding through Jin's connection into his dreams, the voices of the consumed, the calculations of the machines, the endless question that had no answer. How do you save a universe that is dying? The ancients had tried through sacrifice, had tried through genocide. Jin had tried through compassion. Each approach was different. Each approach was insufficient, but together they had bought time. Time for civilizations to grow, to learn, to evolve. Time for perhaps, eventually, someone to find the real answer, the solution that satisfied both mathematics and morality. On his deathbed, decades later, Min would finally know peace, not because he had made the right choices, but because he had made the necessary ones. He had stood at the threshold of extinction and chose survival over justice, hope over despair, the possible over the perfect. His last words were simple: "We tried." And in the darkness of space, in the cold calculations of the Harvester network, those words echoed, recorded, preserved, added to the endless data stream that might someday save everything. Or destroy it. The universe would decide, but not today. Today, because of a human who made an impossible choice, life continued. Civilizations thrived. Children were born under distant stars. Love and laughter and hope persisted in a cosmos that should have been consumed. It wasn't perfect, it wasn't even good, but it was something, and sometimes something was enough. The harvesters waited in the void, patient, eternal, computing their endless equation, and somewhere in their network, connected forever, Jin watched over them all, the bridge between species, the guardian of the threshold, the human who sacrificed her peace so others could have a chance. Her last thought before her own death many years later was this: we are all part of the calculation now. Every life, every choice, every moment of joy and sorrow, we are the equation and the answer. We are the universe trying to save itself. And maybe that was enough. Maybe.